I still need about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Yeah.
This halftime report is presented by Jeep. There's only one. Pro football over on ABC. XFL action, New York and DC. Cardell Jones to DeAndre Thompkins. The Ohio State to Penn State connection. DC leading 9-0 over on ABC. Meantime, to Louisville, Dallas Renegades visit the LA Wildcats. Andrew Jones went against North Columbus for his XFL debut. And serious business moving on and fired defensive coordinator Pepper Johnson after one game last week. Washington's at Kentucky trails by 2 in the win. This has been G.
We can roll. You want to shut the door?
The conference room, the speakerphone, the message files. Not in the room, then you're not in the know. Well, this has been nice. But can we not? Microsoft Teams invites everyone you work with to work together. Be seen, be heard, be there when you're not. Share your files and your opinion, and maybe even a happy little fruit guy. When you're ready to unleash the power of your team, open Teams.
Oh, corn cup, double cheeseburger. Look at that. Man, that looks juicy. What about this crispy tender steak? I know. Oh, man, we both got tots for $2.99. This is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Gotta love the crowd classic.
In this city, magic. Magic under the lights. Rhythm on stage. And soul on the screens. The Music City is home to the SEC men's basketball team. And it is back in 2020. March 11th through 15th. Feel the magic it wants as the nation's top student athletes battle it out to reach the top and earn the tournament title. SEC basketball. It just means more.
But you love turkey.
Thank you for calling Chewy.com. We're Pet Lover Shop.
Hi, I'm trying out new food for my cat, but he doesn't seem to be into it.
I am a picky eater at home. We have great variety packs that'll help you find something to hold on.
Oh, great. But how can I return his old food?
You can just donate what's left to a local animal rescue.
Look. Wow.
Sounds like fun for needs a new toy.
Yeah. How'd you know? Who's Big Dog?
We're here for you. Food, toys, treats, and answers are all just a click away. Get fast free shipping today at Chewy.
A hard 20 after a hard day isn't for everyone. Waking up before the sun isn't for everyone. This isn't for everyone. But at $58 a month, Peloton is for anyone who wants it.
Welcome back to the official ESPN Louisville pregame show. I'm your host, Marcus Maven. Getting you to your hour-long pregame show. This is going to be the longest hour leading into the game, I feel like, for me personally, because I am so excited to see what this team looks like. Now, the subject du jour has been starting lineups. Not only just from the fan base, but I think there was a little bit of fuel added to that fire in the Coach Mack post-game press conference. Now, we're going to dig a lot into this subject for the first 30 minutes of the show. Then in the second half, we'll deal in more game-to-game personnel. But I want to start off the show by giving out the number 267-9680. Again, tell a friend, tell a friend. Today, we are on ESPN 680 and 105.7, I believe, as opposed to 93.9 with the baseball game going on right now. Last time I checked, we're down 3-0 to Ole Miss, but again, that is on 93.9. Feel free to jump in on the phone line. Here we go. Starting lineup conversation. Now, I was talking with Steve Rummage about an hour ago, kind of approaching this conversation. How would I deliver this news to the Louisville fan base? How was I going to go about the delivery? Because what I'm going to tell you is going to be some harsh truth. It's going to be the harsh truth that you're not going to want to hear leading into this game. Because here's the thing. First of all, you have to understand what your mentality is as a fan. Disclaimers. Your record right now says you don't change anything. Theoretically. Your record says you don't change a thing. Your record says, as of right now, your record says we need to start the game more motivated. We need to be more locked in. The coach needs to get on these guys and light a fire under them, and all those things. That's what the traditional situation says. But this is being a smart fan base. This being one of the smartest fan bases. You followed the team last year. You follow the attitudes. You pay attention to the body language, the posture, all those things you follow. Last game was very alarming to the Louisville fan base, to the die-hard Cardinal fan, and you want to see some changes. Everybody talked about it during the week. You want to see David Johnson start at the point guard for the most. Now, we've done the conversation about minutes. We've done the conversation about, maybe you need him as a closer. Like we've found ways to kind of justify, I got to turn it down. Sorry about that. I got Kentucky game playing on the background. What's going on here? Okay. So, we've given passes because you're winning. That's what happens when you win. When you find ways to eke it out, when you find ways to eke out games, it's hard to make changes. Then you get to this point, 6 games left in the season. Everybody wants to see changes. Okay, people, I hope you're parked. I gave you a chance to settle in. Here's the problem. Today, Marcus Maven says you don't start David Johnson. Clemson on the road. You heard it here first. You don't start Marcus Maven. You don't start David Johnson. I'm going to tell you why, and you're going to agree with me. But first, I'm going to get to the phone lines just so you can sit on that a little bit. Who we got on? Lawrence, thanks for joining us on 93.9. Fire away. On 680, sorry. Listen, Lawrence, I appreciate the call. YouTubers, it's actually up and rolling, made for the Ville. If you want to jump in on there. First guy says, last guy I see written says, you definitely would start Marcus Maven. Well, thank you for that compliment. I would feel like I would start on this team as well. So here's the thing. I know you're shocked right now. I know you didn't want to hear what I had to say. Here's the thing. The David Johnson that you've seen in these games is the David Johnson that's trying to earn minutes. He's trying to come into the game and do something with his skill set to earn minutes. That's not starter David Johnson that you've seen. Also, that wasn't really the reason. There's one undeniable reason, and it's going to break my heart to say it. Today, we are a 5 to 5.5 point favorite. Now let that sink in. You are number 1 in the ACC, playing a road game against Clemson, who eked out one against Notre Dame, who's not necessarily hot. Anything like that. Everybody's eyebrows raised. Is it the Georgia Tech game that has everybody, a 5.5? Think about it. You come off a 10-game winning streak. You lose one on the road. Regular person thinks there is no way that this game against Clemson is even close. This University of Louisville team should be as fired up as anybody. Coach Mack probably ran those guys into the ground. All the conventional wisdom that tells you 5.5 points doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right to you. It doesn't sound right to me. It doesn't sound right to anybody until you do it. 267-9680 is the number until you do it. What is that I'm saying? I'm telling you. TV Teddy Valentine. The cooler is on the way. Again, I spent time during the week actually reading you an article that the Big Ten would not allow Teddy Valentine to officiate their games anymore. Now, doesn't that make anybody uncomfortable? You're an official that an entire conference says you can't do our games. Everybody in that who was ready for the North Carolina Duke rivalry, there was a stat. There was a stat that came out and everybody was fascinated by it. The stat was North Carolina and Duke were exactly even on wins against each other. And the points were exactly the same. That is a statistical impossibility. Over however many times they've played each other, 151 to 151, whatever it is, it's a statistical impossibility to line up the exact same number of wins and the exact same number of points. It can't happen. Anybody who saw that game, you saw why that game ended up close. You saw North Carolina had Duke's number. North Carolina just flat out had Duke's number that game until the end of the game, till the easy fouls. And lo and behold, guess who did that game, people? TV Teddy Valentine. And people, I'm sorry, the one criticism that I have for David Johnson is minutes and inexperience. To no fault of his own, minutes and inexperience is David Johnson's, difficulty at the moment. I don't trust David Johnson to be able to adjust to the opening whistle of Teddy Valentine. I would much rather find out what the game is going to be like with my traditional starters. Let me just see what he's going to do. Let me see how this goes. Maybe you jump on him early. Maybe you do all that. Maybe you bring in David Johnson 2 minutes into the game. You let 60 seconds go by. Give me 4 possessions of basketball, and you bring in Sam, David, and listen, I don't care. Bring in Aiden if you want to, right? But what I'm telling you is the officiating is a lot of times a story when Teddy Valentine does the games. And I just worry that I don't want David Johnson's first start. Because here's the thing. You can't deny the emotions. You cannot deny the emotions that a David Johnson's going to have if he starts. You really won't be able to deny the emotions if he starts and you, like I said, the way Coach Mack was talking, it was like it was going to be a bigger shakeup than maybe we were, expecting. Could you imagine how hard Sam and David would play basketball if they started? If they started this game, and this was their opportunity to prove that they should have been starting the entire time. The original Fab Five were having a regular season. They were taking some losses, eking along. It didn't change. Michigan didn't become the official Fab Five until they started all five players. And I'm telling you, I know how it sounds as a spectator or as a coach. I know how it sounds when you say you're supposed to play 100% all the time. Everybody plays hard and plays 100% and all those things. But what happens is when you get that starting lineup or that group of guys, there's a desperation added to it. Just a certain level of just, we can't let this cannot fail, guys. Like once we get in there, we almost have to, Sam and David almost have to ball out of control to get Josh Nickelberry and Aiden a shot. Think about it. You get those two guys, they dominate. You have a pull away, and not a pull away like with the 3-pointers. Because here's the thing: if you get a hot game, let's just say you stick David and then Ryan out there, right? And let's just say you hit a bunch of threes. Let's say Jordan Ward gets hot early on, and Ryan McMahon gets hot early on. You know what you're gonna do? You're gonna leave that game feeling the exact same as you felt all these other games. Like you're gonna be waiting for the letdown again. And that's just it's just unfortunate, you know. But that's how you feel when you see such a lethargic effort against a quote unquote, you know, team that, you know, that doesn't match up. So there's some psychology in play here. D, thanks for joining us on the official pregame show. Fire away. No, it's not. It's not the Listen, it's at Clemson. It- right? Yeah, listen, I appreciate the call. Look, and there's nothing wrong with that feeling. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that feeling of this name and close games, you know, are synonymous. I'll even take it a step further. And this is kind of what I talked about as far as rosters. I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this. We don't have any blowout wins. We don't have any blowout wins. Like, think about this. You've had games where you're up 25, 27. All these games, even these games that finish at 14 and 16, like, that's not a blowout. It's a handling of a game, but a blowout, a foot on the gas blowout. My team and my depth is determined to play the sport of basketball better than your team for 40 minutes. Like literally, that's a blowout. A blowout is a commitment to the sport and a commitment of every single player you use to come in and not bring down energy, to look at the scoreboard and say, that doesn't matter. Only look at it like, I get you're going to slow down your pace, you know, when you're up 25, but you slow down the pace and sharpen your execution if you're a good team. You know, and I'll be the first one to say, when you're losing big, the easiest shot to shoot is a 3-pointer when you're down by 23. That shot is going to go in. That is the most pressureless shot on the team, right? You lower your head, you go to the basket, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get the call from the ref. Like, I agree with all that stuff. But here's the thing. When you're top 5 in the country, when you're number 1 in the ACC, you're able to adjust to that. You're able to not let people get their momentum going. You're able to force tough shots. You know, you're able to keep guys from just lowering their head and getting to the basket. That's what good defense is. That's the purpose of the pack line. Like, that's what you're supposed to do as a good team. But it won't look right if it's your same lineup doing it the same way. The quote unquote, listen, we watched it all year. The Jordan, you know, the Jordan quick trigger step back shot, you know, when he gets hot, and we say, man, that's a tough shot, you know? Like that's the Clemson win that you're afraid of, the one that looks the same as your other wins. But I will say, ooh, that was a rough pick. But I will say this: the new lineups and new minutes, to me, would liven up the personality of the team. Like I think that's what you need, an injection. Listen, it can get stale. You know, like winning, this is the worst thing to say in the world. Winning can get stale in a heartbeat. Winning, chasing, feeling like you're in the catbird seat. I think that's the phrase. Like you're getting chased by Duke and by Florida State, and I don't want to say stale or fatiguing. It's almost like if you're the second spot waiting for the team in front of you to lose, you're waiting to pounce on them. I always described Louisville sports programs are not good front runners. Just overall, women's basketball, football, men's football. Louisville, just like I said, just the attitude does not make for a good front runner. You have to have something, and that's why dead arenas, in my opinion, dead arenas are daunting for the University of Louisville. Yeah, but my original point, starting lineup, if it would not surprise me if Coach Mack had a different lineup, had a David, a Sam, a Dwayne, a Jordan, a Malik, I'm afraid of the tempo. I am totally afraid of the tempo that these referees will set with early fouls. 5.5 point spreads that are supposed to be a lot more, those spreads reek of early fouling. Because that's how you keep this game close. The only way to keep that game close is free throws. And I don't see Louisville, who does not draw a lot of fouls, I don't see them just sitting on the line, pulling away free throw by free throw in Clemson. It just, that doesn't seem like the right kind of strategy. But again, to refresh my original point, 267-968 is the number to get in here. YouTuber says the best player on the team should always start, period. I hear you. But when your best player is a freshman and you are trying to start here's the thing. I would agree with you retroactively, Maurice. I would agree retroactively at the beginning of the season, which you couldn't do, but once you determined that David Johnson was healthy enough to play basketball, and once you determined David Johnson was in shape enough to play basketball for extended minutes, he should have been starting. I like winning tips, which Stephen Enoch does. I like his energy that he brings in the beginning. Again, his result a lot of times cheats him out of how he starts, the energy level he brings or the toughness he brings. So that one wouldn't catch my attention. If there was a Malik switch with Steven, I wouldn't freak out, but I'd be okay with keeping that spot the same. I don't feel like I need the way David's passing the ball. I don't think I need and I'm actually working this one through my head right now. I don't need Malik early in that game. I still need Malik to close it. But the interesting thing is, if you're switching it up, is David Johnson comfortable playing the game and looking over his shoulder as well? Like would they Darius Perry chomping at the bit to get in the game? Another thing I was talking with Steve about this morning which was an interesting point. Now I'm curious to know what some of the callers think about this one. 267-9680. Are you worried about losing some of your starters with this team? Like, this team is an emotional team. It's a very passionate team. Are you worried that if some guys are not used to being, coming off the bench, if you're not used to it, does Darius Perry, is he bothered by coming off the bench? Because Ryan McMahon, he went to the bench, he owned it up. Are you worried about losing Stephen Enoch if he comes off the bench? Or do you feel like his confidence will take a hit? Or is there any guy, or Jordan? Do you think Jordan's confidence took a hit? Because listen, he was on the lower end of the minutes played last game by far. Like that, this probably the least minutes Jordan Ward has played in the Georgia Tech game. And again, if you open the game, if you looked at the video I posted, rightfully so, he knows it. Coach Mack knows it. Uh, um, uh, 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 YouTuber says yes, Darius is worried about coming off the bench. I don't think so. Here's the thing too. Darius is his dad was a coach. You know, and here's the thing. This was actually Steve's point. If you are going to lose attitude of a junior or a senior, if you're going to lose confidence in those guys from coming off the bench versus starting, then it's one of those things like Coach Mack would have to realize he's late making that move. You know what I'm saying? Like Coach Mack would have to admit if he felt like Darius was having a bad game because he's coming off the bench, or if Stephen Enoch was having a bad game because of coming off the bench, you would have to just say, hey, the mental toughness, it's a mental toughness check time for these guys. And here's the thing, to make these runs in the tournament, everybody has to be 100% all in. Like this is not one of those things that you can just erase. Like those attitudes and those moods, they have to die when tournament time comes. I tell you what, we're going to get into some personnel and what I expect moving forward in the game. Our one commercial break from the official ESPN Louisville pregame show on ESPN 680 1057.
The all-new Godfather nightclub is the Jersey City's #1 nightclub. The Godfather has over 100 bourbon selections and is the #1 nightclub in Kentuckiana. Come see us at 5000 Preston Highway in Louisville for a great time. Great bourbon, great scenery at the Godfather. Enjoy over 100 bourbons
Fair enough. How much time we got?
Turn your love of the game into a lifelong career with a degree in sport administration from the University of Louisville. Work with experienced faculty, gain essential leadership skills, and learn to think critically about hot-button issues within the sports industry. UNO offers both a bachelor's and a master's program completely online, so you never have to miss a game. Get the ball rolling at louisville.edu/online.
Follow Little League ESPN, your home for the college football playoff, NFL.
Welcome back to the official ESPN Louisville pregame show. I'm your host, Marcus Maven. Getting to the home stretch, 30 minutes to go till tip-off time. I don't know if I'm excited about getting to the game or fearful of getting to the game, knowing the looming official situation. And here's the thing, I am Mr. Don't give the kids an excuse. Don't tell them who's officiating the game. Don't tell them how they're going to officiate the game. Figure it out, except for this time. This will be one of those times that I actually just stopped and said, hey guys, you're going to have to be really, really aggressive, and any fouls, you're going to have to fight through them and continue to be aggressive, because what early whistles will have you on your heels faster than anything. Keep your feet, stay on your feet, take it to the basket strong. As I'm looking back, this might make a case for, it's interesting. This might make a case for that starting lineup remaining the same one more time. As I'm looking at the condensed version of the game, Darius Perry started out very hot. It was a shootout early on. Actually, the more I'm looking at it, the intensity that came with, Darius Perry. I didn't have the stats of the last game. He came out absolutely on fire. But the problem is, Darius Perry comes out on fire, and the score is just 6-11. Darius Perry, he hits the first three three-pointers. It's 6-11. Clemson came out on fire. That was another game. Look, it's not. I know this is bad. This is horrible pregame radio. But again, looking at the game from last time, we hit everything we shot, and it's 9-13. Even Dwayne Sutton came out. Malik came out rebounding. Stephen Enoch came out finishing in the paint. I guess you just shouldn't have had to fight that hard when you're shooting that well. So, like I said, if I didn't see a change in the lineup today, I would not be extremely surprised. But here's the thing. Going into today's game, their big man, he did not have a good game last one. He is going to be itching, absolutely itching for a rematch. Get him at home. He seems to be playing with a good balance, good energy. Again, tip off 4:05. Officials: Tony Henderson, Mark Schnurr, and Teddy Valentine. Last year, here's the thing. Last game, I keep on saying last year, 80-62 was the pull away, but it was under double digits in those last few minutes. Like I said, we scored something to make it look a little gaudier than it was. Louisville still has the projected starters as Darius Perry, Fresh Kimball, Stephen Enoch, Jordan Wara, Dwayne Sutton. Amir Sims, is a guy who I'm gonna have my eye on their big men having a good game. Now I don't know, maybe with Malik and Steven, maybe their mobility is just a good matchup because it didn't seem like he really killed us. But again, you have when you say junior grad transfer, Mac grad transfer, center's a junior, and juniors should be seniors by about now. Like you should be a senior mentality. As I'm watching the replay, I think the game gets played out exactly the same way. It's going to be physical. David Johnson comes in, hits the best. Actually, I think we might play a lot more zone. Be on the lookout for that as well. Again, late season, I think if you do the math from the beginning of the year, by the point we are now, keeping guys out the paint is not our forte. Now, I'm not one to bail on program building, but eventually you do have to like adjust to your personnel, especially late in the season. I mean, I watched Coach Patino have to do it. I watched him scrap these matchup zones and just say, you just can't do it. The zone looked good, and we're catching up on the zone. And I like running the zone, and I like working on the zone. The idea of working on the zone in practice, I like pressure defense in practice because I think we don't have any experience. Like we match up good against Virginia, right? We usually play them pretty tough. We played them pretty tough because we run their same style all day, every day in practice. Now, a couple of games ago, Coach Mack encouraged some guys to add a little pressure. Wear guys down so they're not explosive first steps when you're late in the game. Like guys are still, just as spry as they were at the beginning of the game. I think on offense, I think if we move more, if we push the pace more, you slow down, your opponents by making them run, by making them work. I don't think we've done a lot of that. But the zone, if they can work with the closeout energy that they use in the pack line, if they can transfer, every coach says zone is not for resting, zone is not for hiding players. If they keep man energy in their zone, I think they do a lot better about keeping guys out the paint. Also, skip passes over David Johnson and Malik Williams, be careful. Be very careful. Dwayne Sutton can read a skip pass like nobody's business. David Johnson can read those long passes. Maybe your team turns into a team that can listen, YouTubers, that was the projected starting lineup. That wasn't any announcement just yet. So don't freak out on that one. It hasn't happened. Freak out when it actually does happen. Again, if you had to ask me, this show is just a bit about the starting lineup. If you had to ask me, I am not one who lives or dies based on starting lineups, but I think it's time, you definitely go David Johnson. And I'd rather see Sam start over, if you ask me where else I would like to change at, yeah, I would just go to okay, would it be a bad thing if your grad transfer and your junior point guard, if your grad transfer and your junior point guard are the first two off the bench, that shouldn't be a problem. I should be able to look at that and say, okay, let's turn it up a notch. Whether you're down 6 or you're up 10. When you do the math, you say, my junior, my junior and my grad transfer, who are not as talented as Sam and David, coming in, as a calming effect or a turn it up. I think this is a perfect game outside of the officiating, outside of Teddy Valentine, obviously, putting his mark on the game. This is it's going to be one of your last best opportunities to see the mentality of Sam and David as a starting duo. Virginia Tech may be the only other game You don't want to unveil these starting lineups against Syracuse's zone. Like you don't want that kind of problem. So here's the thing. Coming into this game, we had a good shooting night, but attacking the basket has got to be the change in this team. You will not survive in March, you know what I'm saying, as a hot shooting, 3-point shooting team, in my opinion. You know, in my personal opinion, out of all the sports I've seen hot shooting teams, I've seen analytic shooting teams, I've seen it all. But unless you have guys that can get to the basket and get fouled, even the shooting teams that know how to draw you off the ground and get fouled. Now, if we do that, if we get a lot of guys pump faked and things like that, I can participate in that style of game. But just the hot shooting or shootout with Clemson, that one's see, I just watched the Kentucky player do exactly just that. Gets the ball right to the free throw line, pump fakes it, draws that contact. Now they're gonna say it's questionable, but you get the point. Taking it to the basket is how this team is gonna increase its ability headed down the stretch. And ask me who, I say David Johnson gets to the basket at will. I think a wake-up call goes to Darius Perry about taking it to the basket aggressively. Darius Perry coming off the bench and attacking the basket is the next step, situation. That would be my prediction or request. I'm not sure if we're gonna do it. I think this game is kind of one of those boom or bust games. Once you change the lineup, it's either gonna work big time or you're going right back to your start lineup before. I think Stephen Enoch, I think his energy, I think he'll get better results from his energy. I think he hears all the buzz about Malik, and I think he answers that bell. I think, okay, I'm listening. Wait, hold on, drum roll. I'm listening. You are lying. You say that one more time. Sam is starting over Jordan? What is your opinion on that? Sam is starting over Jordan? You know what, man? If you look at Sam's plus minus numbers, all the best lineups have had Sam in the game. Now, do you think this affects Jordan? And I've played for Denny Crum, and boy, is he good at this. He is good at getting under your skin with something like this. This is huge news. It's Sam is starting over Jordan? But here's the thing, man. If you go back and look at the Georgia Tech game, again, for those who follow me on Twitter, you know that while I'm surprised, I'm not surprised because he had a horrendous start to the Georgia Tech game. Let me jump to the YouTube. Not David and Sam. Darius Perry is loose with the ball. I do agree that he's not starting David Johnson. Well, I don't know really what to do with that one. Now, look, I was getting ready to talk about predictions and how the game's gonna go. Now I have to change my entire dismount for the official ESPN Louisville pregame show. Jordan Nwora, he might have a triple-double. Jordan Ward. Look, now that Jordan is going to come off the bench for one game, we can change the rules. We can change the rules and go. Now you can pick Jordan as your offensive, player of the game. Actually, I'll take it a step further. Sam Williamson is going to be your defensive guy in this game because he's obviously in the game because he's playing better defense and and probably playing with a better court awareness. Again, there is no denying what Jordan brings to the table, but you think this is a discipline move? You got to tell me what you think on this one. Callers 267-9680. Feel free to jump in on this one. Sam replacing Jordan in the starting lineup. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you think it's going to affect Jordan or Sam? Because again, while we're talking about Jordan being affected on this one, let's not rule out the possibility that Sam is just a starter. Maybe his mentality is a starter. Maybe his plus minus transfers to the court. I gotta say that one I saw Malik starting. I saw Ryan McMahon starting. I saw David Johnson starting, but I did not see the Sam Jordan start coming at all. I knew somebody couldn't wait to jump in on there. Who we got on that line? Chris, thanks for joining the official pregame show. Fire away. What's going on? Wait, describe that a little bit. Mm-mm. Mm. Yeah, Chris. Listen, I appreciate the call. A YouTuber gives me a good visual. Gives a great visual. So your second unit at Clemson is going to be Jordan and David, and probably Ryan. Now that sounds like a powerful second unit. Sounds a little different. Yeah, Jordan only had 2 points last game. Yeah, I was surprised with those numbers, man. And again, it wasn't hard to isolate him on the tape and just say, maybe something's wrong. But whew, this is gonna be interesting. Now I'm excited. Listen, I tell you what, that's gonna do it. We get ready for this game. I'm probably gonna keep the YouTube rolling to do a little live watch of the game. That's gonna do it for the official pregame show on ESPN 680 and 105.7. Let's go. So what you think? What you think?
I'm really shocked. I don't know. I kind of like it because there are times where I see Jordan just standing on the wing like you're an All-American coming to the ball. Maybe this is a wake-up.
It has to be. Oh, I'm calling him right now.